This is your brain when you're struggling to focus. And this is your brain when you're in the zone. But getting in the zone and staying there, that feels more like luck than something you can control. So that's why we made Brain FM. It's like a do not disturb setting for your mind, and it gets you focused in just 5 minutes. Using science and sound, Brain FM guides your brainwaves into an optimal state for productivity called neural phase locking, which lets different parts of your brain work together more easily. Compared to average music, Brain FM actually increases and sustains your focus over time, letting you stay in the zone for as long as you want. You can also use Brain FM for relaxation, meditation, and even sleep. But don't take our word for it. Join millions of others and try it yourself for free, and see what you get done with Brain FM.
Odin Valhalla Rising, now available on mobile and PC, exclusively with Google Play Games. Ascend to Valhalla on a larger PC screen and uncover hidden secrets with enhanced mouse and keyboard controls. Earn Google Play points for every purchase you make on PC. Get an exclusive 15% discount with Google Play Games for a limited time only. Get started by downloading Google Play Games today.
Alright. Oh, I may have started that a tad too early, but it'll. Alright. Good stretch. So what we're going to be doing today is working on the architecture for the Viper engine. Now I wrote down on some paper here a couple of things I would like to do. And I did kind of a test of that. So look here, I added a different type of command. And as we can see, we have a green dot. He's bouncing. Then we have a red one. Now we attach the camera to him. So he is in fact moving. Kind of moving down. And there's some issues here yet. As you can see, some type of weird input stuff. But the way I set that up, I'm not happy with. not even close, because like yo, spawn generic, spawn object, yada yada yada. What I'd like to do is get it set up in a way where it's like, yo, we spawn object and we can save that to a variable. And then we manipulate that variable from Python and send that information back to C++. So yeah, this was my little test thing for this, and a little test thing for that. This, and here's like the container or whatnot. I don't like it. This is not how we're gonna do it. And to be very frank, how we're gonna do this is gonna be quite a bit of back and forth. Just double checking, we ain't grabbing anything bad. So we have entity there, blah, 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 blah. Get rid of all that. Get rid of this. This thing here, we're gonna go ahead and just completely yoink out. Bam. It just leaves these things. And that. Alright, so. Oh yeah, the fix update too. Alright, so one of the big issues I see so far is if we're updating all the objects and group collisions, yada yada yada, all at once, it's gonna begin to be hard for culling, and this is just not a good way to do it. You don't want every entity ever updating forever, type of stuff. And this was a good test. Like, hey, spawn the object. And with the other one I showed there on PyCharm here, this was also a good test. But what I would like to do, just to kind of like give an example on Notepad here, and it's gonna be a little tough to figure out, and we're gonna break it down. Every solution or every problem can be broken down into smaller problems, and come to a conclusion on the solution and stuff. So, for example, over in Python, I would like to be able to go, hey, this variable is equal to this thing that took in our command. For the very simple one, right? So like we'd like to do this and set it equal to an object. And then say something like so this add component, I would like to be able to pass in what we are adding to, and then define the type. So here we could say something like add the camera component, add the controller component, so on and so forth. But that's relatively easier said than done. And we're gonna slowly work through this, because to me the scripting side of the language should really be in control of making the game, where the other side, the C++ backend, needs to be aware of, like, basically like set up all the things, all the methods and attributes that we can call from Python. And when you make a game, you're going to need things like cameras, a way to control that entity, some type of interaction that's defined. And within these different, very generalized things, you should be able to build a game. You know, some type of goal, yada yada yada. And so we don't want to necessarily, in the engine part, be like, yo, this is a bullet, and have a function that's like, hey, make a bullet. And that's going to be hard, but we really want to keep it as generalized as possible, I suppose. And these things here, I suppose they would return. They would have to have like some type of return back into the Python. And so we're gonna start slow. We're gonna start really slow. We're gonna try doing something like this and testing some things. So over here, I noticed, we got like this spawn object takes in a position of mass. I did change radius when I was testing things, because what I've found is, especially if we're gonna be doing like this as an engine, the person on the Python side needs to be able to define and set up what they want. And so this is where I kept this information, kind of separating, because they might want a bigger mass than they have radius, so on and so forth. And this seems fine, except that all objects, if they're each updating all at the same time, no matter what, right? So that to me becomes a tough thing, because you also want your player entity to be part of that group, yet separate, in a sense, right? You want them to be able to update separately. And this is where I was getting kind of a little lost over here, because this is all well and good until you realize, well, shit, how do we communicate like this is going to be a player, or some other type of entity? Maybe it can't move like a wall or the ground. And with that type of philosophy, I suppose, out of the way, that's what we're going to be working on today, very slowly. So really, this is the type of goal, and I suppose this is, let's say we kept this, for example, and I really want to pass in color too. That's something I think would be very nice. So an X, Y, a radius, a mass, and a color. Now, how do I want to define color here? I think it's fine to just define it like such. So we're gonna pass in color down here. This is going to be the hard part, because we have to cast it, right? So RGB, just trying to think here. We could say command, because we can cast these things to a float like such. Now this might be undesired, right? Because we're gonna have a red, a green, and a blue, and technically you'd want to pass in an alpha here as well. So we could even go float And you know, it begins as well of at what point do we really care what type of object this is? Do we want to define these things every time? What if it has a texture? We don't care about this stuff. And you know, these are things to think about, but I think it's super important to look at it in the way of we can't worry about how to do things in the future until we get there, in a lot of sense, right? Because we're building this from scratch. So inside here, I guess I'll just put like red, green, blue, alpha. And then for this guy, color. Now the reason I did this real quick is now we could kind of tell the difference between shapes inside of this portion of Python, just because we really don't want to have a situation arise where I'm testing movement in camera and be like, which one is which, right? Like, am I this green ball? Am I a different green ball? And like this is fine. And notice it returns a void. And so this is where my question becomes: we can spawn this, calling for the module, and can we, like, and I suppose this is going to be a question, can I then save that as a variable? You know, so so I was just looking here, just kind of giving it, and we didn't give it any other data. And right here, has some ideas, like some type of entity ID, pre-setting up this stuff. Adding component, shipping it back. Just kind of looking here. Spawning the object, yada yada yada. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure how helpful this is. I was looking at it. Not gonna lie, a little confusing in that sense. But let's see. So let's try to break it down like this. I'm gonna make a little spot here. We're gonna do like a slash star star slash. So we want to be able to go, hey, player, you're equal to whatever happens over in Python. So we have this spawn object, it hits Python, it takes in a command, we pass in a command off the Python end, and we go, hey, you are now this player object. So this has to have a return type. Now that return type, I believe, would have to be a PyBind object. Not positive, but I'm fairly certain. And so, oh, discrete maths, man, that stuff's some hard shit. Yeah, so what I'm trying to do right now is set up a system where over here in Python, we can create, basically we call like a function like this, and we save that into a variable so that we can go, hey, now that we have this player guy over in Python, and so here I'll type it. So now we could go something like, hey, like add a component, and we pass in our object, and then the type. And this would also have a return type back into our Python object. And that way we can build these systems over here in C++ and then actually call those functions to build our game in Python. This is kind of the tricky thing. You don't want to write any of the actual game code here, and so you can keep it as generic as possible. Yet finding exactly how I want to go about this is going to be interesting. And honestly, I think it's doable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna copy this, and just for one specific reason. So we copied that. I'm gonna get rid of I'm gonna get rid of that. And we're just gonna say this guy's always gonna be a green guy, yada yada yada. And this is like our default guy. Over here, I want a return type, and we want a return type of PyBind. PyBind object. Ah, it's nighttime? Well, yeah. I'm glad you came in. It is morning though. Yeah, it's like 10 in the morning, almost 11. You probably had a very busy day too. Let's see, spawn object can be made static. So we're gonna call this 8 p.m. It's not too bad, but yeah, it's getting to be about that nighttime. Now this is the tricky thing. So we do have like this big old all objects guy, and I don't necessarily want to remove it out of the all objects because that's what's dignified for the group collision. Make some how to learn tutorials. I mean, I could make some tutorials for sure. Really depends on like, especially like in what. So like, I don't think I am qualified necessarily to teach anything on like how to learn Python the best way or the worst way. I mean, maybe the worst way, right? But I could do some tutorials on basic Python, basic Java, basic C and C++, some little slightly more intermediate level stuff. But I don't claim to be any type of expert on this. Yeah. I made that, and that to me that's not advanced. That's I could make some tutorials on that type of stuff. Hash maps are like, if you notice here, we're using a hash map, and this is something I'm considering doing in this moment. Is if we look at the pseudocode here, this is like a hash map. It takes an object and a string to determine what's going on. My conundrum at the moment is, even though we can add this to the list, I only want to access one of them, but I don't want to only ever access a particular one. So I suppose I should almost have in here a value called index, and I'm going to pass that through the command as well. Well, see ya. So we're gonna have an index here. I'm gonna cast this to an integer. So like, reason I'm going about an index, and this, these things are gonna change. That way I can receive a particular guy from that index. So in this case, like this PyBind object we're returning. So return, it would be all obj at index. Let's just see here. Just kind of double check up here. No suitable constructor exists from physics object to a PyBind object. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna go like this and here, and then I'm gonna ask it, I'd like to send the object data back to Python for it to saved. Right now, all phys object is this is for the PyBind 11 stuff. Let's see here. To send C++ instances like PyBind back to Python using PyBind 11, you need to make sure the class is properly exposed via PyBind module. If all physics index is a physics object, this is how to return it to Python. So we have a class. We'll do a PyCast. Or if you want to return a reference, not a copy, which is very likely what we want to do. I'm going to copy this line. I'm going to paste it right underneath, and we're going to look here. So this is going to be PyBind 11. I guess that's basically what we want, right? We're returning this back as the PyBind object. So we spawn it, we save it, and as a little test, because this looks fine, we want to eventually get this, but we're gonna do just a slight test. So I'm gonna make a void. We're gonna copy this real quick, and I'm gonna call this one talk. So it takes in a guy. I'm gonna call this like player. Command again, I suppose. And we're gonna say string. So like string value. I'm gonna call this message. We're gonna have this equal to our command dot at, and then in here, it would be whatever we want to set up in Python. Call that like talk.cast to a std string. And then we're gonna see out message. The reason I'm doing this and this, that way we can come down to this PyBind module, and I'm going to actually remove both of those for now, because we know run works, we know this works, but we want to pass in an object. Actually, we'll keep run on just so we can see the object as well, and then we're going to ask it to talk, basically. And so we're going to take an object or spawn and talk. So here we have an mdef. So from our Python we are defining talk. And then similarly we are defining spawn and taking a reference to that. So we're going to file save, come over here, we're going to go into folder, we're going to open test, we're going to delete this, and we're going to open, and we're going to come over here and grab our compile instructions. So I'm going to copy this, paste. This is our little CMake guy. In fact, I'm going to go back into our test folder now. I'm going to copy this release build. It's got some warnings, nothing too much to worry about at this point. We're going to copy this. We're going to go into the Viper script area. I'm going to paste, replace, and then inside PyCharm here, notice we have different scripts and whatnot. We're going to come over here, new Python file. I'm going to call this test2. Really doesn't matter. We're going to import Viper. We're going to set up a command. So command, and this is going to equal. So inside here, we need to access things like this. So in this first command, we're going to call these things. So position, mass, radius, red, green, blue, alpha. So if we notice here, we have this stuff, just like before. Position, mass, radius, yada, yada, yada. And then we got red, then we can, give it a red color, green, blue, and alpha. Just a little space there. So we have these things, and that seems to be fine. Right, red, green, blue, alpha. And we're gonna name this command spawn. And then we have another command we're gonna make. We're gonna call it talk. So talk equals, and inside here, we're gonna take in, I believe, a variable called talk. So look in here, yep, and that seems to be fine. And I suppose we just kind of write it. I'm not positive, but that's fine. Maybe like this. We'll we'll see. Anyway, so down here, I would like to say, hey, player, you equal whatchamacallit. So in this case, it would be spawn. Or just kind of check in. Yeah, I think that would be relatively correct. Let me just kind of look back over here and C++. Yeah, we did call this spawn. And then check it. Play, see what happens here. Back, a little back and forth. Let's see. So before that would have been spawn object. Look over here. Ah, Viper, right. So we set that equal to player and hit play. Invalid map. I don't think this would run either. Yep, because there's no spawn generic. Just kind of looking. Let's see. We got spawn takes position, mass, radius, red, green, blue. Position, mass, radius, red, green, blue. Alpha. We're missing index. So index. That's gonna be that guy. In this case, let's hit play. Ah, I just forgot a comma. So player equals viper dot spawn. Unable to convert function return value to Python type. The signature was this. Interesting. And if we just go like that, what happens? Yep, still the same. And so we can't quite do the talk either at the moment. Because here radio, okay. over and copy this error. Yeah, just don't mind me as I learn in front of you guys like this. Let's see here. Invoked with the player. Da, 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 da. Let me pull this up. Like this. So this is what I'm doing over here. Said you have this, which I do. Type error unable to convert the function value to a Python type. This typically means the cast couldn't convert your return value, in this case all objects indexed, to a Python object, which is correct. You must tell Python how to wrap your class. I suppose this part confuses me because I'm not sure where to put that. Huh. I suppose we can try that. Oh, the infinite loop. Let's go here. It's saying you just shove that all inside this guy here. That'd be PyBind. I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to go like that. To be, unless I have a just straight up try copying that whole thing, but again, have the issue of whatever the heck is going on with these .defs here. Very, very unfamiliar. Definitely have no idea what I'm doing on this. No instance of function, PyBind, def rewrite with type physics options matches the argument list. Right. Let's comment these out. See what's going on here. To me, it seems reasonable enough that you'd have to have this stuff kind of like that. Apparently not, though. So no instance of function template matches the argument list. I'm gonna ask it about this. This seems weird. So here, I don't understand the syntax. The compiler also doesn't understand the syntax. Like, what is going on there? Oh, we have that. So that explains that, but that's also not going to work. And I'll explain why. We have a naming issue here. So we just call this like Python object, for example. And we would come in here. Position, Y position. So this is all fine and dandy, but then we have to ship this stuff back into this stuff. You know what I mean? Because right now it hits this. It returns this here. So I suppose this begins the next question. So let me copy this, and I'm going to be as verbose as I can. I guess I'm a bit confused. If I have, then how is it supposed to go from and I'm going to grab this. Which phys object is a class defined above to the Python object. Your code you presented calls phys object as some empty struct, where mine is not empty and very verbose, so I'm confused on what is who or where. need to bind the real physics object class same way you're using in C++ and returning that in your spawn function. Yeah, but like, that don't work. Unless I just am completely wrong. Which I'm okay with, but if this is a phys object, so I'm going to tell it this is all redlined. Or not readlined. Yeah, thank you for understanding. Yeah, but that's... Again, I don't think it understands that phys object is what it is. Like, we're gonna copy all of this. Because I don't want to rewrite what phys object is. That's just ridiculous. So we're gonna come down here. Add functions to the get set position.x.y. Yeah, I think I basically broke ChatGPT at this point, because you can't do that. Not at least in the way it's trying. Like this, if this is a physics object and it wants these things, oh fuck. How am I gonna do this? Let's see here. So we're gonna come up here. We're gonna look here. We have a x, a y, a radius, float, mass, which really is just a radius, mass, and a vector. So we come up here. We have a radius. Because this inherits from the other guy. So we have a vector, a mass. So a vector, a float, and a float. So down here, we have a position. That is not redlined, which, whatever, at this point. Early morning frustrations are always fun. Let's see. High bind, yada yada yada, position, radius, mass. How does this then... I'm going to save, compile, see another error. See what we go from there. This is going to be a very, very, very slow process, guys. Because we're fighting like three things. Main one, I don't know what I'm doing. Second one the syntax with PyBind 11 and C++ is much different than anything I've done. Thirdly, the system's slightly hard to test, right? Because we have to compile and this and that and the other. So this is going to be slow. Like I said, this is not meant to be a tutorial. This is meant to be kind of showing you guys when you're learning something, it's okay. It's okay to be frustrated, and it's okay to not understand everything right away. So that's how I didn't have a problem. I do wonder, can we just do like what is it, like viper.run? I think we take it layer. I think it's just that. It's a capital. So what color is this guy? It's white. Interesting. And then so if we did this, he should be red. Okay. That's progress. Now what if we want him to talk? Would it be... Because I'm wondering if it's just simply Viper dot talk like that. And we take in our command, and then we just have like a hello. But what if I want it specifically to be that object? So like player, because player is this. Just kind of see what we can do and what we can't do here. Yeah, just kind of testing what we can do like that. Because the idea was, hey, take in an object. So a PyBind command, which would be an object in this case. Trying to figure how to do this. What if we want to pass out like player index in that case? Does it allow that? Okay, so it can't print these because that is not part of the actual object. These are only defined over here. They're not really stored like color is stored. So we could say, in a sense, color, except it probably will fail because it's not really printable. same with position. And that's why position.x maybe. Not so much there. But radius, we definitely could, because that's just accessible. Yep. So I suppose that's kind of okay in a sense, right? Like we don't want to define a lot of stuff over in C++ and being able to print and use this console for this type of stuff. That's good. Now this index guy, in a sense, we do want to keep track of indexes and pass that into this. I'm gonna put index there. We're gonna scroll up, come over, and let's see here. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. I'm not an expert software engineer. I'm learning. I am by far no expert. I'm just a guy. But thank you. That's really nice of you to say. So over here, I'm going to create a integer. We're going to call it index, and that way up here we can also pass index. This way we know who is who and why. So I'll say like, yo, this index, you are index. That way over in the other land we can do that type of stuff. So here, index. It's going to be mad because up here we didn't pass in an index. So int index would be equal to the command at, and then here we can call that index. We're going to cast this to an integer. Bam, that's fine and dandy. Yep, so we have our index over here as well. It looks like we really don't need this because we can print things right off of the Python console, which is very useful. And this thing here is nice as well, though notice we should probably pass an index here as well. This is a useful thing. And I suppose, yeah, okay, that should be good. But adding components, right? Because back to this, we managed to save him like this over here in Python after some aggravating aggravating moments. But we want to be able to add component and then return it back, and that component actually do something. So in this case, we don't necessarily want to add the camera component first. I think that would be particularly hard to really see the movement change, especially if there's no other object in the scene. So for example here, we set this thing, and you could probably, in a sense, be like, hey, this is defining our, I'm going to call it P in this case. So like, hey, this is defining our player. If you came in here and you also defined like, yo, we want a different position, let's call it 500. We want this guy to be green. We want him to have a slightly bigger radius. Maybe his mass is just, I don't know, like 500. He's got an alpha and increases index, and we call this just like E in this case. And then here, this would be a player. This would just be like, just like something, know, right? And we hit play, we should see a red and a green. Now the difference being, now that we basically have this thing here, and we should be able to come over and be like, hey, print e.index. Seems fine enough. E.index does not exist. I wonder if e.mass exists, just out of curiosity there. There's no attribute mass. Is it the same? Oh, it's some guy. My bad. So some guy.mass. Some guy.index. So it really doesn't like printing the index. Is it okay with mass though? Likely not. Oh, yeah, likely is. Interesting. So we're gonna have to figure out why it doesn't like index there. So I wonder too, like printing out player mass. That's definitely gonna work. Oh, yeah. The reason it doesn't like index is we haven't recompiled and tested. So that's actually that's why there. We're not gonna worry about that for a minute. But being able to set like a movement component, right? So we want to define like, hey, this shits out whatever the heck that is there. And we stored that back into Python. And then Python is gonna go, hey, throw this object back in, right? So like we did this, we shit it into Python. Python grabs it, and then we want to do something like, hey, just for sake of things, we're gonna call like new player or whatever. We're gonna go, hey, we want to add a component to our object that you gave us, and then we want to specify the component, or in this case, something very similar to this, and then being able to control said guy is relatively kind of like what we're going for here. Is kind of like a back and forth. Yeah. I was able to make Python and C++ talk to each other using PyBind. What we're doing is, I would like to set up a very basic 2D game engine backend in C++, and then have the different functions created so that over here in Python we can use kind of like a JSON-esque template and build the game calling the functions that we've predefined in C++. So having like Python as the front-end scripter and C++ as the back-end entity component system, basic engine type dealio. With that said, I'm kind of discussing like how I want to go about this add component, because we want it to take in and receive a PyBind object, but we also want it to shit out a PyBind object. So very similar to this. And with that said, I think I want to make like a add component function, and then somehow, and that's kind of the question for me, is like, how does that guy affect its other update, right? Because up here we have a update, and I probably should call that virtual. But again, it's this is how like everybody in the scene is gonna update, and I only want the ones that we give the movement component to then have a slightly different update. And so it makes the question like, hey, or not the movement component, but the controller component. So it's almost like, hey, should we have some type of check right in here? like, is movement component active, and then define what it can do for movement. Or, and I think I like this one better, but it's also a little bit more tough to set up, is like, this stays the same, and when we grab that Python object coming back out, we're gonna then store him in a whole entire like different object type. Problem being, he still needs to collide with the other entities around him. And so like when we have like this all object guy, how do we kind of like go back and forth and communicate? And definitely don't want it to become too convoluted. So in that sense, I do want to keep it as a phys object. So it's tricky. It's tricky at best. Yeah, so we're just kind of looking here. Void add component takes in a Python object and a string. So in that sense, we do want this to be a return type of PyBind object. We do want it to be called add component. We do want the argument to be a hash map. And we need it to take in a PyBind object and a string. And in this case, probably should. So that's a map, yada yada yada, and we can call this component. And then I guess we'll store these as strings and be like, yo, component dot at, and if you are in this case controller, and then we're gonna so dot at, and then I believe command dot at. Just gonna kind of turn these things around. Here, make this a reference, and now I'm just going to straight up copy paste what I had before. So I guess it's going to be a const. Hold on. That's a const. This would be a string. There we go. So component dot app. Controller dot cast to string. Again, I'm not sure exactly what the deal is here, why one is so much different from the other. Oh, yeah. You know what? You can definitely tell I'm not really paying attention here. We're gonna call that component type. So yeah, so this is equal to this now. Here we would have our add component function in a sense. Like this is fine. I don't know if I want it to be named that. Add component. Yeah, actually we do. From Python, we want it to be called add component. From C++ add component type, and then we're going to pass in component type. So this is going to be a function defined in C++. It's going to take in the component type. Now here, and this is the tricky thing, is I want it to, I suppose, take in a just a strip highbind object as well. Because what I'm trying to do very carefully is this. I want to set up this structure. Pass in a type, pass in a type, pass in an object. So phys object, the object would equal to here something kind of sorta. I'm not sure how that's gonna go. In fact, I'm kind of concerned that that's not not gonna be anywhere close. And we're already adding the object into the list. Do we remove it from the list and then add it back into the list? Confusing things to think about. I think so, right? Like we're gonna go it's call.remove. Don't necessarily want to clear it. No, this is food for thought. Food for thought here. I'm going to go to the bathroom and I'll be back. And we're going to talk about this add component type. Alright, I'm back. Oh, let's see here. Oh, so yeah, we want to define this add component type and needs to take in a phys object and a string. And so like any other thing in this, I'm going to put it right above here. And it needs to return a phys object. So we're going to call a phys object return type. I'm going to call it add component type. Inside here, it takes in a phys object pointer to it. I think we're going to do the same thing over here. And we're going to call it the obj. It takes in a string. And we're going to call this type. So something ish. Just going to kind of come down here a little bit. And that's a pointer. That's a pointer. So it takes in this, and it's going to equal the new guy. So we're going to go here. Not really a new guy, but it's like an added OBJ. We'll come up with better naming structures. This is basically what's going to happen. It's going to take in this data and then shit out another guy. So here, add component type, right? If type is, and in this case, controller, then we have to actually add the controller component. And for that, I think it would make a lot of sense if he just knew what that was already. So up here, we're going to, I think call it a struct. I think components are going to be structs in this case. Controller, and a controller is going to need kind of like event types in a sense. So we're just going to have like a controller thingamabob. I'm actually going to make a class for now. We're going to just kind of go back and forth a little bit. So void, how are we going to go about this? Do we want it to have its own void fixed? We're going to pass in an event. Here we're going to pass in delta time. That way, this controller would be inside of here. So component make that public. Down here, controller C. We're not going to instantiate this C, and like this knows about what it is if it exists, and it only exists once we add the component to it. So here, for example, we would have our keybinds like if SF keyboard. Actually, in this case here, we have to go if event dot type is SF event key pressed. If SF keyboard is key pressed, SF SF keyboard W, so on and so forth. So we got our W. I'm gonna go here. Boom, boom, boom. We got our W, S, A, D, And just under W for now, I'm going to say I'm not going to worry about any movements. Just kind of showing here. Bam. So we have our controller C here. That's our virtual deconstructor. Just kind of looking. Ooh, excuse me. Grab some water. Oh. All right. So we got our like little add component guy. If type is controller, then this is where we would actually go in there and we'd be like, hey, yo, obj, we've got obj in this case, dot c is equal to new controller. Actually, it's not even a pointer, right? So this is, we're gonna call that new, and we're gonna make it a pointer up top. Controller, physObject, controller, boom, 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 pointer C. So this exists. This is where we made it, right? Like, hey, this happens. It has this stuff here. So we can call like fixed update, that type of thing. And like we have an update here, for example. I'm gonna make like a fixed update, little loop guide. We're gonna put in SF event like that, and be like, yo, C dot fixed update, pass an event. And this is if C exists. So we want kind of like a Boolean, or at least I do for now. Bool has controller. This is gonna start out false. Here, if has controller, then we're gonna allow this up here. So we have like, hey, controller C, yada yada yada. This can happen. I suppose in here, in this constructor, like, because we have to tell that Boolean, hey, we do exist. So in the constructor here, how exactly do we want to go about that, right? Because suppose one way, it's not like the best way, but it is a way. So once we create that guy, then we can just be like, yo, the obj dot has controller is true, something like this, and then just return the obj here. This is gonna be kind of weird, guys. It's not necessarily the best way to go about this. So that's our added object that is being returned back into here, and we're gonna then return that object back over again. Kind of like such, but we kind of want to store it back, right? So that's the thing here. So in this case, really want to remove it. So we want to pop back. Just kind of looking here. Add object does that. So we might want to do like a remove object call here. Delete at the end. Oh. Oh. Is there anything else? And place back. Wonder like when we dot back. I mean, I suppose we are going to use pop back. It doesn't even take in anything. But we're just going to have to be very careful what we're pushing, what we're popping. And I'm going to have to take a look at that. And very likely, very likely make a linked list of some type that we control and can add and remove to a little easier than that. So what's going on here? Index is undefined. Ah. Well, we do want his index. That is that is definitely the case. That's going to be a placeholder. A lot of this is placeholders until we really figure out, or we as in royal we, myself, until I figure out how to do these things. A lot of this is just straight up placeholders. Like take the journal for example. Now that's a professional software engineer. I mean, he worked for EA. He's done a lot. Myself, I'm just in college, right? Like I'm just trying to teach myself this stuff on the fly in front of you guys to really show you what it's like when you don't know. And you guys likely know when you don't know, but it's another thing to like not know and do it live. I mean, I think it's it's fairly an interesting thing to see. To realize not everybody knows everything. So let's go here. We're gonna call add component like so. I don't know what this is gonna do. I have no idea. I think we're gonna get some errors. That would be my interpretation so far. We which I think is to be expected at this point. A lot of testing, a lot of back and forths. So we're going to CMake this, get some compilation going. Then here, hopefully with the way this is set up like this, shipping to different things shouldn't be too bad. I haven't really even thought about pipeline for that type of stuff, but right now I think it would just be on Windows computers, and we'll kind of go from there. And that's far off. To be very very direct, that is not the concern right now. So here, we're gonna go with this and hit play. Fantastic. Then we're gonna come back over here. We're gonna really look here. So add component. Looking for this word controller in the object. Right, so controller is kind of like the thing it's looking for. So we're going to say like C is right here. It's looking for this, and believe also like that, because what we're doing is we're saying, hey, grab this, throw it into here. This then hits this add component type. Add component type here goes, hey, we're looking for this word, and we're going to do this stuff. And we're going to return the object back. That object is then cast back into Python. So we have that. So I'm gonna kind of delete this part and just say, hey, Viper dot add component. We're gonna pass in player and C. And I'm gonna go like this and hash that out for a second. So it finished, it processed. We have this, and when I hit W, we have absolutely nothing, which makes sense. It makes sense because when we come up here and I go, hey, fixed update, and then put fixed update inside this guy right here, and we're saying, hey, if we push a W key, do something. We actually never called fixed update, believe it or not. So if we look here, this fizz object is contained inside of a bucket. Bucket handles this type of stuff here. So technically, to go all the way full circle, we have to have a way for that event to actually reach. So if we do here, how would this go? It's like, yeah, so for physics object pointer obj in all objects, or all phys objects. Not sure if I was like bit by a spider or what. That kind of was a little tender. Anyway, so boom, obj dot c dot fixed update, and here we pass an event, and then for this part to actually reach, we need to come all the way down to our while loop. Inside of our event, right here, we could say all obj dot fixed number and pass in event. So here we'll file save. I like to kind of go about it like this. So I'm gonna close out all of those folders, right click, open folder file location. Over here in test, I'm going to delete all this. I'm then going to open up a terminal, and inside of here, my compile instructions. I'm gonna paste this stuff in. And we're gonna do the same thing here. And yeah, you know, this is fun. It is frustrating when you're learning something and you're like, man, I don't want to like embarrass myself in front of people. The fact of it is, you gotta learn somehow, and this is a great way to learn this stuff. So here, I'm now just gonna hit play. I'm gonna hit W, and we see press W. So now we can figure like, okay, this guy here, he is what we think he is, right? Like, he is a player. We added the component, the movement component. But now we have to do something actually useful, right? So like here, W might be like a jump or whatever. But for now, we're gonna come here and just kind of look, right? So left and right movement and up movement. We're not really gonna be focused on down movement at all, because we're gonna call this like a platformer engine for now. So bool is moving right, and bool is moving left is also false, and bool is jumping. So we want to set this to true and that to true, and here is jumping is true. Now this is jumping guy. We ain't even gonna worry about the details, so to speak, right now, because this first little game I make, it's gonna be a lot of back and forth. And it's gonna be little, like we're just talking move left, move right, jump up, have some type of physics interaction with other entities. A game needs a lot more than that. A game needs UI, it needs a purpose, and we'll slowly get there. Over here in update, we are going to say like if is moving right, otherwise if is moving left, and then here we actually want to do something. With this in mind, how do we determine how this knows about the other? And in that case, I think it's easy enough to be like, hey, we probably want if is object reference. Really likely. Now this might create some circular dependency, right? Because we have stuff being called before we know about it, type of thing. Yes, he is always uninitialized. That's fine. That's fine for now. Because here we could say and I wonder if we even want to mess with acceleration like that. Because like, yeah, for now we'll just say it'll be dot velocity in the x is equal to speed. And in this case, we'll call speed like 200. And we're just going to come up here like this, right here in the update, boom. Now if we're moving left, we will just say obj position. See if there's any reason it wasn't autofilling for me. Usually not a good sign when it doesn't want to autofill. Usually means something's a little fishy. But yeah, we got this so far. We have a speed, and then we are changing position based off speed. This update here, so it can be made const. Yeah, according to this little effective C++ 55 specific ways to improve your programs and designs, apparently everything should be const. Well, Mr. Myers, yeah, probably, maybe, kinda, sorta, but not today. And so here, notice we got this stuff, and this is fine. I want to say if has controller otherwise something like that, set in the position anyway. Here c dot update, and taking in like the delta time, and in this case whatever object this is. I think that might be kind of sort of okay, probably not. Let's see. Yeah, suppose, let's test that. So we will like come over into here, go into the test area, we'll remove all this, we'll then compile this test here, so boom, bam, let it do its little compilation thing, and we're gonna build it into a release. Yeah, a lot of this is like conversion issues, conversion warnings, floats and doubles, and yada yada yada. Well, that's interesting. Oh. Right. This here, like, I'm not even gonna really read that. Why that's happening is up here inside of controller, we're taking in a fizz object right in here, and fizz object has no fucking clue what it is until below. Now in C++, it doesn't like that. Like, you gotta have things, but also right here, controller doesn't know what controller is until it's above as well. So how do you go about that? What I'm gonna do is kind of like a template, and I think the easiest way is this. Like, make a template like that. And then we're actually going to move the definition below. I don't know how well this is going to go, but like have our template. Controller. Right, so there it is. And then actually define what the heck that is. So we're going to need to define some of the functions up there. Two, I believe. Kind of, sort of. Yeah, so here we're going to have like a I don't even know. Honestly, is it gonna just like be virtual? I know we have to take in a thing, and that's gonna be the tricky part of the kind of like dealing with this circular dependency here. Again, this needs its parameters, which again needs physObject. Interesting. Don't mind me as I slowly scramble here. So we're gonna put that here. And I'm gonna come down here and grab controller. Put it back. And I think this is something that happens quite commonly as you build. You realize certain things have to be certain areas. I wonder why it's mad now. Because before this existed, it wasn't mad. Right. There. Maybe it's just crazy. Pretty sure, I mean, it did compile that one time. What the heck? That is an issue. This was slightly above the other one. Let's see that be the end all be all for that. This right here is the issue. I want to just call that a shape. But again, we'd have to grab the velocity. Interesting. This is a conundrum because we want the controller to be able to modify what is happening in the update it cannot modify what's happening in update without knowing what the physics object is. It cannot know what a physics object is if it is defined before it. So there, and that's circular because a physics object knows about controller, and if it has controller, then it can do some stuff. If it doesn't, then it has to, which leads me to think this is likely fine. This is not fine. In fact, we remove that. We then come down here. If this is the case, if it has controller, we're just completely define a new thing here. So where we have this stuff, be like, yo, if C dot is moving right, otherwise if C dot is moving left, and just kind of have its own update. So be position dot x plus equals velocity in the x direction times the delta time as seconds, and then vice versa for the other, but we need to set the velocity equal to the speed, which is inside of C controller, so we should be able to say, yo, velocity in the x direction is equal to C dot speed. For now, speed is just going to be hard set at like what do we call it, like a 200? Yeah. Let's file save this and come up here and try to recompile this. That would have been funny to delete all that. It would have caused some issues. Inside here, we're going to go back and compile. Yeah, I'm still a little under the weather. Not quite exactly sure what I have, but it is uncomfortable. Let's kind of scroll up. I don't see any errors straight out. Look like some warnings. Inside release, we do in fact have this time, which is always a good sign. Inside the Viper script, I'm going to paste, replace, and then inside here, added the component. I'm going to hit play. Wow. He did move. It is moving left, it is moving right. We didn't have any other scenario here. So, for example, key released. That should be fine. It reads kind of funky, but should be fine. Also, one thing I noticed, we do kind of want to have the other part of that happening there. So, we still kind of love this, honestly. File, save, folder. Delete that. Open in terminal. And we're going to start compiling. And then we're going to test some collision stuff too. So we're going to go like this. And boom, we're good. Then we're going to go here. Looks like some warnings, like usual. Everybody likes a good code that has a bunch of warnings. Paste, place. So first and foremost, we just hit play. You can see we have movement, and it does have like his little bounce happening still. This is fantastic because we at least control this object. And then inside of this, we do want to create another guy. So this E guy. And so I'm going to put him at the end. He's going to be called E, and we want this to be like some guy. Great. Oh, we had some issues there. As soon as I push that button, it looked like we had some issues. I wonder if order changes much. Oh. That's interesting. Yeah, it definitely doesn't like that. That's interesting. I do want to check something out real quick. See if we still have the other module. Oh, we don't have the other module ready. Just seeing here, what exactly happens, right? So we hit one of the keys, then it freezes, shuts off. So let's just take a look here. When we add a component, because I'm pretty sure if we were to just be like, yo, no component was added, it doesn't matter if we hit a key or not. Oh, it certainly does. Absolutely 100% matters. So that's even a more telling sign of something inside of this. I'm just going to make that a little bit more normal looking, just for the sake of stuff. Let's see, so here, yada yada yada. That we're just gonna make sure it's null in the beginning. This is fine. If it has controller, again here, it's false. We only want it to be certain guys who have controller. Excuse me for a minute. Ooh. All right. So the funky thing here is one affects the other. So if type is this, return. Right, so what's happening is we spawn this object, we added him to the list, we then hit this area. Oh, no, we're here. So we spawn, we add all this stuff, we add him, we return the reference. Then that reference, we add a component to, so we take him back in, we remove him from the list, we've checked the string type, we added, check the index, yada yada, and we verified that this works. But then we go, hey, add another guy, so we go back here, and it adds whatever this is. In this case, it's a green guy. That was doing some funky stuff. It appears that it was trying to determine if they're both really the same. And I'm gonna do a couple test runs here. So I'm gonna come up here. We're gonna be printing indexes and also double checking if what I have done changed anything. And I know what I did was a very small, very minimal change of checking, or making sure that bool was set to false when that object is constructed. Because it's like I said, it's a bit tricky because we're managing a bunch of things, yet at the same time, very specific things in that bunch of things do stuff slightly different. Very convoluted way to say shit did not work as expected. So I hit W, or in that case D, and it does break. So here I'm going to go, hey, print some guy .index for me. So he's an index of 1. And then we're gonna print player's index. He is 0. We're gonna print in this case player dot has controller. It's gonna error because physics object has no attribute. Now, it's not that it doesn't have the attribute. I'm pretty positive it's this, right? So if we want to read that stuff, we're gonna have to go here. So has controller. Something like that. So file save again. Kind of a slow and grueling process. You won't make an engine in a day. You won't make an engine in a year. It's several years, and lots of fixing and changing and arranging. And what we're seeing here is just the beginning, right? This is it's gonna take a village, so to speak, and it's never gonna just be perfect or really fantastically usable. And take a look at Hazel. That has several people working on it, and it is fantastic. And then you take Unreal Engine or Unity, and I don't know why I hit play there. That's funny. And those are completely different, big companies. So, true, it does have a controller. Now let's check some guy. Now, if he prints false, which he does, if we hit any of those key presses, it does error out. And this begins to run the question. So here it does happen, and if we just to kind of go like this for a second, we can move if we're in this state. Like, we're good, we're moving. It's when we add other guys to this when it goes, hey, some of me in the list does have this, and other parts of me in the list doesn't have this. And so, how are we going to deal with this? And I think the answer is pretty clear. I'm going to try some shit. In this case, indexes. Right? So the index has a thingamabob that we're keeping track of. And so, inside here, if has controller, and index is this. And yeah, I just hard coded that. Probably not best, but that's what we're gonna do. And if that is the case, then it's gonna be this specific guy. Now, how do we go about that, right? Like, I think what we're gonna do and this could be dead wrong, is that. And we're going to try that. Now, if this doesn't work, we're just going to keep testing away. So we're going to delete. We're going to open Notepad, compile this. I'm going to get the rest ready. Boom. And we're going to come over into test, release, copy, go into our script, paste, replace, and yeah, so now we're back in PyCharm, and I'm going to leave some guy out, and we're going to move. We're just kind of verifying like things did not break, or what things that were working did not break. Then we're going to print him, or not print him, we're going to make that, and we get another freeze. And they're fine if we don't hit any keys, right? Like I can hit any key here, and it will it'll break. Because that time I hit the arrow key, and if I hit O, it breaks. Interestingly enough, if I go here, it doesn't matter what I hit, it doesn't break. So that there is an issue. And one other quick thing I want to test is this. So inside spawn object, slightly different. Doesn't return anything. So we're gonna come over here, file save. We're gonna again do this whole thing again. And yeah, you know, it's not an entirely exciting process. And it's not a tutorial. It's not like, hey, this is the way you're gonna make a game engine with Python and C++. It is just kind of like a nice little showing of what I'm doing. And by no means is it the best way. That's okay. So over here, instead of having this stuff under index probably isn't needed here. That might fail. Just gonna go back to Visual Studio for a second and double check what spawn object is needing. Position mass, radius, and an index. So position mass, radius, and an index. And in this case, we're going to call it 1. when I hit the key, we freeze. Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not quite sure why that is. It has everything to do with this, right? And so that's going to be the tricky thing. Of course, you know, you're going to see me do this a lot. I'm going to drop this into ChatGPT like usual. But we're going to ask it some stuff, right? So when I run this, and I'm going to throw in this, so it has some context, and hit any key on the keyboard, the simulation freezes and if I don't summon a second entity and just the player can move. So I think there is an issue with all OBJ who contains several different OBJs whom have different states, almost as if it expects if one has it, they both do, or vice versa. And while it thinks about that, I'm going to come over here and we're going to test something. So for example, we're going to remove that component guy. Like this, we're going to hit play, and we push a button, and it does in fact freeze. Which, that's kind of interesting. That's not what I was expecting. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to spawn again. I'm going to grab this stuff. We're going to come under radius. We're going to paste it. I'm going to make him green. And then we're going to add a component to him as well. So like, it's just a typo. So this runs, and they both move, right? Oh. Hello? Well, that's very unexpected. We're gonna close out of that and hit play. So why this is weird to me is we added a component to both of these guys. I guess it's because he is index 0, right? So like if they were both the same index, we hit play. Oh, that's even stranger. Huh. Well, that is definitely not something I expected. Interesting. So I guess it's that. Interesting. As we've seen, when we do give everybody a controller, it does work. So it should be exactly that. Which, yeah. Right. So we're gonna run that again. We're gonna go into here. Open in terminal. Now, I'm getting a little excited now, right? Because it did something I wasn't expecting, which was work as intended. If I included both. ChatGPT is no longer really all that helpful. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's like it just wants to tell me what's good and some suggestions, but nothing about like, hey, this is dead wrong, which that's a good sign. But also, it's going to become harder to debug by myself, but also a really good thing because I have to learn. Right, like that is the purpose, is not to rely on anything but yourself and other people. The AI is nice, as you could tell, to get this up and running, but anymore, it appears like it's not really going to be all that useful. So we're not going to even add a component. We're going to close out of this. We're going to close out of all of these. I'm just going to look here again, right click, open. Pretty sure we ran a new test. Copy Viper script, paste, replace, play, and this freezes. Yes, it does. So yeah, it very much does expect them to all have controllers. We're just gonna make sure we're just gonna double check, triple check, open, copy, boom, bam. Yeah, if there's anybody spending time with their moms today, happy Mother's Day. I did message my mom. It's an important thing. Respect your parents. Sometimes things are a little different, right? Like, some people aren't the best people. But if you have a good parent, it's good to recognize that. So I'm gonna hit a button and we freeze. So it does appear that it is absolutely expecting a component on everybody, which is damn interesting. Because now they should both work, right? And so even its suggestion, hey, make sure it has component, that wasn't the answer. And making it have to have the index of 0. I mean, we definitely don't want that. to be the end-all be-all, like, hey, your player must be the first entity ever. I mean, it works, but, slightly convoluted. This part here, right, like, if this has a controller, we're gonna live with it. We're straight up gonna live with it. Everything needs to have a component that's added. That's the way it's gonna be for the moment. I do want to test something though. Come over here, go into our release folder. We're going to copy this, excuse me, and we're going to paste. Here, go into PyCharm. This should work, only one guy should move. And he can interact with the other entity, which is fantastic. I want to print enemy here. So he does have that thing, which is fine. Technically, I do wonder. Spawn object. As such, he doesn't return anything. So this should then just straight up not work. Right, it should fail right there. Right. Which is fine. I think we could be safe enough to assume if it exists, it has a component. Only one of those components work. In fact, this add component guy, maybe he takes, maybe we do something slightly different here. Because add component can happen. We come up, this is add component. And if we swapped these, like if this was 0 and this index was 1, then I would be moving the green guy. Which had some interesting, interestingly unexpected things happen there. Yeah, it looks like index matters on order of instantiation. So if I can just for a minute live with, you gotta add a component to everybody even if the other guys technically aren't going to move, then that's fine for now. It's weird, but likely fine. The component for camera as well. How do we want to go about that? Just kind of playing around with an idea here. So we're creating like this view thing. I want to say it's like what? Window dot set view would be in this case camera. I think we want this set center, but we also want to watch out for weird squishy stuff. Like if you don't set up the camera viewport correctly, it'll be kind of weird looking. And so I want to say we want like the window dot get size and set that instead of like camera or something. Something similar to this. You see. It's a set size. And something like that. That seems to be decent like that. So we have the size, we got the camera. This locks the camera. We're gonna make a little constructor like so. So here we're not going to instantiate either. Just also say camera is pointer at the beginning, or cam in this case. And it has camera is also false. And then for the booleans down here, has camera, and then up in the view, if how do we want to do this? If has camera and index is our first guy, just like up there. That's an issue that we'll come to another day. Then we're going to do cam dot lock camera, and we're going to lock it window issue. And then down here, that's fine. Looks fine. Go here. I think we're gonna have to add a camera to everybody, which again, there's an issue there. An issue that doesn't seem like a good issue. It's like kind of a tricky one. Copy. Paste this. Oh. Component type redefinition. Right. That is because of that. So it can be either of these things. And I am wondering how exactly this is going to function like this. I think we're going to have some issues. There's already some issues that are quite interesting. Make that seems fine. One thing I'm seeing is like, is it going to be expecting both of those words at the same time? We need like a boolean or da 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 stuff. But again, it's going to be tricky. We're going to go to here. Copy. Here, paste, replace. I'm going to close all these things we're going to play. Right, because it is expecting other as well. Huh. This isn't going to cut it. So I think the simplest thing, like, it's nice to have like an add component. But we might have to do add controller, add this, add that. Trying to avoid that though, if we can. So regardless, there's going to be a lot of retyping here as the project expands. So add a component. What it's expecting is this word here. For now, go here, camera. Something sort of like this. We don't want to do whatever I just did there. Close that. We're gonna open that. Sounds like a garbage truck. I think it's going ham. Let's go here. So I'm going to copy these, same old stuff. Paste, replace, come over here, go into our Python. I'm going to hit play, and that seems fine. So then we're going to add our camera component. So here I'm going to call this camera. And we're gonna stop that. We're gonna hit play. Traceback line 46. Yep, so this line. Type index error, invalid stuff. So let's take a look here. Call it controller. The first one. So let's take a look up here. Add component. Component type controller is the keyword we're looking for. Looking for the keyword camera here. Let's just turn that word into camera. We do have a camera. It is hard to tell where we are though, in this scene. And the other guy did not need a camera. Which that is interesting. Suppose, let's make like a ground object. Oh. And for the ground object, how exactly? Right, because everything's round, radial, quite large. Just bear with me here. So I believe we need this stuff here. This position be really close to the ground. Its mass, I don't even know, like what, like 2,000? Its radius is going to be huge. Radius of 1,000. We're going to make him blue. Index of 2. So we're going to go here. I'm going to call it ground, or G, or to him. Let's see where he's at. Alright, like that's huge. Again, why is he above us? That is kind of the question, right? Because we're saying, yo, your position is like way the hell down there. Let's make your radius like reasonably smaller. We're probably going to have to make like just a straight up rectangle object that doesn't have a lot of that shit. So even if we make that like, I don't know, like a radius or a position of 10,000, you still seeable, which is fucking nuts. I'm sorry, but that's just, there's no way. There's no way he should have been seeable, because this is a position, right? Like if we made his position 4,000, we shouldn't see the other guy. Apparently we do. What if the position's like 10,000 or 40, whatever the number that is? Again, yeah, see, that's weird, to say the least. Don't really have a good explanation for that. And again, with the way the collisions are set up, everything is a circle object. Let's see. Yeah. That's an issue, because to make like a ground, as you've seen, like it was behaving quite strange. And if I make it a rectangle, the reason I'm pausing here is the collision code is for radial objects currently. And to be honest with you, doing radial to AABB is not something I know how to do. It's flat out pretty tough, especially to have the collisions work correctly. With that said, I think I'm going to call it a day for now, because I have a lot of writing and thinking to do on exactly how I'm going to go about this. And with that, it is what it is, but I'm going to call it.